Good afternoon and happy Saturday to everybody. This is the Roaming Prepper channel, and I hope all of you are having a great weekend rather. Today was pretty neat. We started off with a Christmas market and gun show in the same complex, so everybody was happy. I would like to thank all of you for joining me today. Who do we have on here today? So everything will kind of zoom by when I hit. Well, there's Joe Morgan. Hey, Joe, how are you? Loretta, uh, Texas Mama. And did you get a big change in weather the last 2 days? Because we sure did out on our side of the state. Annie Oakley, hello. Hold on a second. There's someone else, Larry. And I really need to find my glasses when I do this, y'all. And I kind of expanded it so I can kind of see. Um, in any case, I did notice something completely not news related. Uh, the prices for firearms at the gun shows has gone back down. There was a point where something you found for say $400 at Academy, like Smith and Wesson, little pistol, was 600-700 at the gun shows last year. And during the hey Arkansas, how are you, Tammy Lynn? Um, now it's now it's back to a little bit over like retail price, but not that bad. So I was kind of psyched. Joe, in answer to that comment, sounded like a fantastic day. It was a good day, and they were serving mixed drinks at the Christmas side, but I didn't want to then go and look at guns and maybe, if I buy a gun but I'm drinking, then I don't know how that works in Texas. So I kind of refrained from the early morning rum and coke. Hey, Sita, how are you? Uh, but, well, demand and production have caught up. That's absolutely true. And also, there was no ammo for a while, so they were making firearms, and I guess it feeds in. Uh, Yeah, Annie, that's exactly it. Although at a distance, I have 2015 vision. It's up the reading stuff like right about there. I start getting Google-eyed. Um, the so the they didn't have ammunition, so they kept producing firearms, and nobody bought any because you couldn't shoot anything. So now everything's kind of leveling off. But yeah, that's what I should have done. Well, okay, so something else. I've been talking about supply chain, right? Shorten the supply chain. While I don't know why they were in the Christmas market, there was a local ranch, and God, I can't find their card. They are outside of Abilene, and they traveled to my part of Texas for for this holiday show, and they had big freezers full of beef, and I got fajita. Get this, guys, beef skirt fajita from the ranch, 450 a pound. And I got boneless steak, and I'm talking inch thick. This was country cut steak, and they gave it to me for 750 or $7 a pound. Good luck finding that in any commercial store. The guy says he grows beef year round. He sources his feed from Oklahoma. So hey, what's going on, Heroic? How are you? Yeah, and from a distance, Annie, that's exactly it. Um, by the way, folks, we have a few content creators on here, so Uh, Heroic is one. I believe Sita, and everyone's kind of going by really quick. But if I missed anyone, be sure to check out their channels. There's a lot of great folks out here, and yeah, it was very cool. Somebody was selling ammunition for a ridiculous amount, and the guy right next to him was a little bit more normalized. So, Bug Dude, what's going on? So it was very cool this morning. Yeah, we found a gift for another family member, and that is the last of our gifts, folks. We are officially done with Christmas shopping. We started 4 months ago, and actually, we learned that years ago. We start like in May, and we're like, okay, that'll be so and so's gift, and we kind of get it. So we find stuff when it's off season, and then we just sit on it. Since the family's kind of scattered, we all know, all right, well, we'll go to my daughter's house this Thanksgiving and go here another day, and we just kind of leave gifts wherever. George Washington, what do we got here? Thank you, Loretta. Oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing here. There we go. Guys are going by faster than I can type. That's Heroic Prepper. He's on the East Coast. Picked up a P299. A SIG? No way. I'm a big SIG fan. Over 20 a box of, and there's no reason to, Joe. I think, hey, Metal. Metal has a channel too, so check his channel out because it's a lot of fun. Um, hey, how are you, Sita? Again, I'm losing track of who I said hi to, so apologies if I said good morning or good afternoon twice. Um, good day. So, guys, I found those meat deals. The firearms had some good sales too. Check those local markets. Check the gun shows, the Christmas shows. We even found some kind of bougie stuff at the Christmas show, and the price wasn't stupid. I actually, while my wife was browsing, I was looking at prices on the phone. They were within 10%. You figure a lot of these small stores, when they jump onto like a farmer's market or Christmas market, they have to pay a little extra fee to get into the market. So I figure whatever their normal price is, they got to tack on a little for the show. That's not unfair or unheard of. Um, but yeah, we find there was a lot of good deals out there. So I did. I repeat myself. Say hi twice. That's okay. It's been one of those weird weeks for everyone. Hey, oh, hold on, somebody else. West Tennessee Prep, how are you? Welcome, welcome. So, well, I had a plan originally earlier this morning when I was kind of doing my homework for this talk show today, for the SitRep, and so much has happened. I had no idea what to go with. Last Tuesday I kind of went with the EMP theme. And no, don't worry, Annie. Do what you got to do. Uh, okay, West Tennessee. Before I'll have us, as Lucky Dame often says, the squirrel moments we all have. So they had silver at the gun show, and there were a couple of vendors there. He said JM Bullion is marking up $8 over spot, wherein a couple of years ago it was maybe $3 over spot. So they're really sticking it to the vendors who buy. So it's still maybe cheaper than most, but still, um, yeah, the silver prices, the providers are marking them up a lot. So you may have to search around a little bit. And man, George, there's nothing wrong with that. That is good stuff. Uh, hold on. Cool. Well, check out Metal's next live, and yeah, yeah. So as West Tennessee Prep said, search around. Um, by the way, the gun shows in the markets, even if you can't find good pricing, um, you can uh, you can get a lot of good intel. And it was interesting for me to hear that one of the biggest vendors or resellers of silver bullion is marking him up that much. He said spot was around 24 when he last looked, but then they're tacking on a plus 8%. So that's almost what, a 33% markup? That's big. Uh, in the past, it was like 10-15%. You figure their taxes, their shipping, that wasn't unreasonable, plus a little bit of profit. Um, yes, and that is true. Firearms in general. Joe, to your comment, the SKSs I saw there, which were stock SKSs, they weren't fancified. Um, they were asking for 800 for an SKS, and I know I've seen them elsewhere for four-ish. I bought mine for three, but it was years ago, and it was going up back then. But yeah, check out the stores. You get a good idea. Excuse me, folks, on pricing and other stuff. But well, I didn't know where to start with everything that's been going on. I mean, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks between the trials and the CDC and other stuff, stuff going on overseas, stuff going on in Canada. It's just kind of everywhere. Yeah, I wish they were $75 now, but yeah, mine was 3, so I probably bought mine shortly after you bought yours. So, folks, where do we start? I think the media and everyone has beaten the Kyle Rittenhouse case to death. So I'm not going to get into the Kyle Rittenhouse case per se. I think these jury and judge and the lawyers did what they had to do, and they did their part. And there were a few slaps on the wrists and a little bit of controversy. I have no reason to believe. I mean, the jury took almost 4 days, 5 days to deliberate. Um, Regardless of where you fall, as far as whether you are happy or not happy with the verdict, I want to focus now on what comes next. Aside from the completely different case over, I believe it's in Georgia, with the Ahmed Arbery. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Um, the Rittenhouse case has already become a reason for people to be upset. And I want to share this with you if I can get it to work. So let me know if, and you know what? That I would believe, sir. I would absolutely believe that. Whether you agree or disagree with the verdict, the people in charge don't want us paying attention to the fact that bleach is $6 a bottle when it was a buck 25 or something like that not long ago. And I get the funniest text from my wife. I'm going to put it on Instagram later. Um, because of my job, I'm the one who's floating, right? Because I'm always driving around. So when we need groceries, it's usually me. She was in the office and she's in between jobs. She's switching jobs. And she said, I'll go shopping. And she sends me a text with a picture of bleach saying, what in the holy hell? $6 for bleach? What the um, hey, milkmaid, how are you? And she has a great channel too, and she has piggies and all sorts of animals on her farm. And Larry uh, probably absolutely correct, but more than likely in the charged political environment, the DA or the city were like, we're just going to go through the process. That may explain why the prosecutor was such a jerk, because if you look at some of the videos and if you listen to the testimony, it was it would have been a hard case to prosecute. I think given what he had, he did the best he could. But they're already protesting now. Of course, it depends where you are. They had a protest in somewhere else, not in one of the chaos cities, which is what I'm going to call them from now on. It was a normal city somewhere in the middle of the country, and it was a prayer march, and they marched and they yelled things, and then they went and moved on. Um, but of course, then you had Portland. So I'm going to share this. Let me see if I can get the screen going here. Give me just a second. And nope, that is not the correct screen. And let me know if you can hear this. Can you hear that? No? Okay. Hang on here. Let me fix this up here. Because you definitely want to hear the audio, because this is let me kick this off. All right, so let's see if we can fix the technical unhappiness here. And okay, now the screen doesn't want to close. That's always awesome. Let's try that again. Oh, let me not share. Okay, let me try this again. Bear with me, folks, while I play angry games with my computer that does not wish to play nicely. There we go. So, all right, so let's try that again with a different browser. And we will, so essentially they've already got protests in several places, as many of you can imagine. And this is relevant to those of us who are trying to prep, because you don't want to be caught unexpected and you walk out and here you are, you're in the middle of some garbage. Let's try this again, guys. Okay. Let's see if you can hear this one, folks.
Aggressive at all in terms of making a move, but at some point that could potentially happen in terms of getting them off of the streets. They're not allowed to block traffic, and yet they've been doing it now for about an hour. And they're on here, the Brooklyn Bridge, on a very busy Friday night, and you can see the rest of the protesters behind us. We'll actually turn around and show you. These are the rest of them over here. There are speakers here. They're talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. They're talking about what they believe is an unjust justice system and racist. It's a majority white crowd. They've been marching out for about an hour and cheering and kneeling. And
you look at these folks, they're not doing anything wrong, right? They don't agree.
And so on. I'm going to see if I can maybe speak to somebody here about why they're such here. Can I ask you a question? Okay.
Oh.
Let's see over here. Hey guys, can I ask you a question? No? Okay. Some people don't want to speak right now, but we'll keep moving over here to the protests. What we've been hearing, though, all night is that basically they believe, as I said, Sean, that they believe this is a miscarriage of justice. And those are the same words that were used by Mayor Bill de Blasio, who tweeted this and said that the Kyle Rittenhouse case was a miscarriage of justice. But also, more importantly now, the mayor-elect, the second black mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, came out against this verdict as well. And that's really important, too, given the fact that there's a lot of pressure on him from BLM as well, Sean.
So that was interesting stuff. You see some of the folks, and to be fair, there are a lot of people who don't want to talk to CNN either. So no, it's that was they and okay, so that's in New York City. They have a new mayor. De Blasio is gone, thank God. And the new mayor is a former police captain or lieutenant. It's a guy who spent his career in law enforcement. So he already said, look, y'all can protest, and he does agree with certain things, but he said, you're not going to go and burn my city down or throw Molotovs at my officers. We're going to chase your ass down. So I don't envy his position, because the prior mayor let everyone do whatever the hell they wanted. If anything, he egged on violence or antagonized people. And now this new mayor's coming in, and he's going to have to battle with that. But so that was New York City, right? And it seemed, pretty civilized. And then we got these cats from let me get this screen up. So these cats from, I believe it's Portland. I don't know if I got the right city here. Let's share and share audio, and let's see what this knucklehead can tell us.
Kyle Rittenhouse shaking as he stood to hear the jury's verdict. One charge after another, not guilty, breaking into tears, and as you can see, collapsing before the court. His mother, Wendy Rittenhouse, closing her eyes in relief, watching on with her two daughters.
Joe.
Also there, the families of the two men Rittenhouse killed, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, loved ones holding hands, stunned as they heard the verdict. Rittenhouse had said it was self-defense, and tonight his attorney says Rittenhouse wishes none of this ever happened. What the families of those who were shot and killed are now saying, and word tonight from President Biden. ABC's senior national correspondent Terry Moran leading us off from Kenosha.
The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
Kyle Rittenhouse, trembling with emotion as the court clerk reads the jury's verdict. The first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Those jurors, 7 women, 5 men, finding Rittenhouse not guilty on all the charges.
As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber,
Yeah.
we, the jury, find the
And
defendant,
they're
Kyle
absolutely
H.
right on
Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
And you see a sister in the background was in
Immediately
tears
after,
already.
Kyle Rittenhouse bursts into tears, collapsing into his chair, embracing his attorney, overwhelmed by the moment.
Would you wish the jury pulled?
The jurors took their time sifting the evidence and law, deliberating for about 26 hours over the course of 4 days. Lead prosecutor Thomas Binger briefly reacting to their verdict in court.
The jury has our community in this trial and has spoken.
Rittenhouse claimed self-defense after he shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber and wounded Gage Grosskreutz during a protest last year over the police shooting of a black man in Kenosha. The parents of Anthony Huber issued a statement. We are heartbroken and angry that Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted. There was no justice today for Anthony or for Mr. Rittenhouse's other victims.
Right? People are
Today's
not all
verdict
gonna
means
agree
there
on a
is no
verdict like this.
accountability for the person who murdered our son. It sends the unacceptable message that armed civilians can show up in any town, incite violence, and then use the danger they have created to justify shooting people in the street. Kyle Rittenhouse left the courthouse a free man. You see him here smiling in the backseat of a car after the verdict. His attorney, Mark Richards, spoke to reporters.
He wants to get on with his life.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
He has
yeah,
a huge sense of relief.
I've had people tell me if you call 911, call, give them the relevant information, and hang up.
None of this would have ever happened.
Because anything on the recording can also happen.
Self-defense and vigilantism. Rittenhouse armed himself with an AR-15 and chose to go to those protests.
Kyle got in over his head. He might have been foolish to be in that situation in that moment, but foolishness is not a crime in the United States. And at the end of the day, he still had a right to self-defense in that moment.
For many Black Americans who believe that a Black man who did what Rittenhouse did would have been treated differently in court and on the streets, the verdict was painful.
We've been here every day of this trial, and it is disheartening to know that this system still does not work for justice.
So a lot of emotions, folks, on both sides. But you notice the common theme here is thus far, everybody, they were all civilized. Like outside the courtroom, they had the pastor, they're talking. Hey, Militant Roots, how are you? Some folks agree, some folks disagree, but for the most part, they're trying to be human beings to each other. But I've already seen apparently in Portland, they've already started rioting. And this is an important thing for us to be aware of, because what you don't want to do is, let me see if I can find that video, because that was really cool to watch. Oh, here we go. And this was, let me share this screen with y'all. This is, hold on. Oh, that wasn't the button I was supposed to press. There we go. So this is from Business Insider. And riot declared in Portland. This protesters and police clash after the Rittenhouse acquittal. I'm trying to see if they protest against Kyle Rittenhouse acquittal on Friday night in Portland, Oregon, was declared a riot after windows were broken and police officers began getting pelted with objects. Yeah, and that's where I'm going. Militant is it's I don't want to subscribe to this nonsense. Go away, little window of chaos. So basically, depending on where you are, people are having different reactions. In Washington State, they had the National Guard on standby. They didn't need them. Most people were peaceful, aside from individuals getting riled up. In Manhattan, they got on the bridge, blocked the pedestrian bridge. They put up a flag. They had some discussions and speakers. And of course, Portland's trying to burn their own city down again. I'm kind of shocked that anything's left in standing in Portland. I'm trying to see where the video is, but it may not have let me watch the video. Well, that sucks. All right. Well, that newspaper can kiss my butt if they don't want to share their videos. Anyway, so situational awareness for you guys, right? This is not going to go away quickly. Yeah. And again, West Tennessee, to be fair, there are cops who don't do the right thing. And those need to be dealt with as well. That's important, right? People have to have faith that the guys on patrol aren't worse than the criminals. But hey, Ghetto Prepper, what's going on? But understand that you could be traveling, especially we're going into the holiday season, and there's another trial going on, which probably will end, give it a month, will end between the holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You're going to run the risk. You could be traveling somewhere. No, yeah, none of the rioting was on the news last night. And then don't feel bad. I got told to stop typing in a chat at work because I couldn't type, I couldn't spell, so I started using emojis. And one of the VPs was like, "Dude, just knock it off. You're being an ass." And my coworkers thought it was awesome. The big boss wasn't like, "Yeah, stop with the little ninjas, whatever the hell you're putting over there." But going back, these are situational awareness things, folks. So if you're traveling for the holidays, if you're traveling to see family, I know some of you guys are going to stay at home. Make sure you put a change of clothes and something appropriate, like a travel EDC, if you will. I've done videos, or a few of us have done videos. Be ready, if necessary, while you're on the road to blend in, right? So, I mean, even when I go on like very formal business trips and I'm basically bringing dress shirts and slacks and jackets and ties, I'm going to have a couple of change of clothes, which are blue jeans and hoodies and my old, Garmont boots. And I can move in those boots if I have to. So just be aware. Yeah, that was bad. Just be aware that these kind of situations could come up. You know what? And possibly, I had someone on one of the other social media platforms. I don't know if it was TikTok or Instagram. I made a comment about inflation. I said nothing about presidents or anything. I'm like, this is what's happening. And somebody's like, oh, well, what if Trump is done? And I replied to the person, he's not president. Why are you even bringing him up? He's not the president. Okay, he inherited shit from Obama. Obama inherited shit from Bush. That's how it works. Okay, I mean, unless we're going to go back to George Washington, what's your question? And so anyway, I just, and yeah, and that's the thing. They're going to bring him back. And Militant, to your point, they're going to bring him back to rile people up, because where are we going next year? We're going to have an election cycle. So people are going to start trying to rile people up. You're going to see issues on the Second Amendment on one side. You're going to see issues on Trump or racism on the other, as they try to rile up their voting base. So I'm not actually disagreeing with you, Militant. I'm just pointing out that's what I'm seeing. People are starting to bring him out again. And he's like, until he declares he's running, why are they even? But you're right. They're not showing this because it would actually hurt the incumbent in this case. But in any case, I mean, yeah, they're already starting to burn down Portland, or they're trying anyway. And yeah, well, Joe, what the problem is, when the founding fathers created the republic, the idea was, you would serve 2-3 terms, right? Most of these folks had a farm or a business or something, and you would serve your country for 8 to 12 years, depending on whether you were House or Senate, and then you'd go home or do something else. we have a political aristocracy. I've said it before. Both parties are basically embedded in a lot of ways. How, you know, senators and congressmen who are making the same as, say, a lawyer in a company, or going in with a $150,000 salary, coming out as multimillionaires. What magic happened in Washington that they got that rich that quick? But yeah, it is career politicians. And yeah, it's not what it was supposed to be, which is folks like us who say, you know what, I'm going to serve my city council for 4 years. I'm going to run for mayor for 4 years. You know, and then some people go from mayor to senator to, you know, to the Congress for the federal level. It's not like that anymore. You literally have guys and girls who get elected and they just sit there forever, and that's bad. Yeah, and Sita, this is yeah. So West Tennessee Prep, did you say the police officer OD'd that did what they did? I was going to click it. Really? So why do they have that in the media, but you're not seeing it at all then? See, now this is what I love about doing a live like this. You bring up something and someone in the area is like, I'm not seeing what you saw. So something happened, but apparently it's not. It might have been on a 2-block area where the cops and these guys were being idiots, and the rest of the city was fine, but they're blaming the whole of Portland like the whole place is burning. That is super interesting. This whole entire time we've never once fire. I'm down Portland. Yeah, I'd agree with the homelessness and drugs. But folks, keep in mind they may be okay. And typically that's what it is. Like when Austin, Texas, when the few times it showed up in the news, it was always like that same downtowny area. Because I mean, they're not going to go in the suburbs. It's like an hour away. They're going to go and protest to like 8 houses. No, they want to be where the news is. So yeah. So there's this one little area that's just all chewed up with this nonsense, and so the cop did. That dude was not right at all. See, and that's bad because stuff like that happens, and then it's like you understand why people don't trust law enforcement, which it puts the good cops in a tough spot. Yeah, first aid kit, blankets, a trap. I'm not even going to ask what the trap is, but yeah. So folks, you may want to go through your bags if you have a bag in your vehicle, and make sure you have something that is discreet to change into, right? Because you don't want to go from a suit and tie to like camouflage, because then you really stand out. You want to be able to look like a protester, you know, the dark clothing, the dark hoodies. I did a whole segment on well, actually, metal, I saw it a lot for a while, and now it's very hit and miss depending on where you are. Yeah. I like that name, Alamo Bag. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good name. And actually, I do too. I have a little travel thing, but now my eyes have gotten where I can't read it anymore, so I probably need to include reading glasses in my truck. But well, and I'm glad to hear that, because you think about it, you get caught. Let's just say you come out of a building, okay? Because this has actually happened to coworkers of mine. It almost happened to me. You come out of a building in Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma City, take your pick, LA. You come out and there's a shit show on the street that you may or may not have realized was there, right? So your vehicle's in the parking garage, right? You can get to your vehicle, say, but you may or may not be able to get out without somebody roadblocking you, throwing something heavy in front of your vehicle, and, you know, pulling you out of your truck. So being able to go to that bag and change into something that totally makes you uninteresting to everybody, and then going to hit the streets and try to go away, that would help you a lot. And also keep in mind when you're and again, this is all hypothetical, right? You have to react to a situation. But if you have a protest and they're all marching from left to right and you're on the side of the street, don't go against them, right? Because that's going to attract attention. Go into the flow, kind of like you would swim against a strong current. Don't swim against it, swim with it, but keep moving to the right or to the left. Keep moving till you get to the other side of the street. That technique works really well in Mardi Gras, by the way, because I've done it several years. You just kind of go in the flow and you're here, and I'm like, okay, I can't go straight across, so I'm going to wind up in that intersection over there, and just kind of go across and get carried along. Yeah. And that's the key. You don't want to have to get into, and that's maybe the one mistake. Yeah. Just to keep the confusion, man. Just to keep confusion. Hey, Rip, what's going on? And yeah, like a concert crowd, except for the mosh pit, because the mosh pit is chaos. You don't want to be in the mosh pit of a riot, right? You want to be somewhere where the other people are, you know, doing whatever they're doing. But there you go. Well, actually, I speak different languages, so like I'll get caught and people will ask me stuff and I'll reply in Spanish or French and screw them up, and they'll be like, hola, you know, and I'm like, all right, bye, and, you know, keep going. Which I've actually done once, and which really threw them off. Like, you should have seen this during the headlight looks. But guys, keep in mind, there's going to be some unrest with all this as these trials play out. And the pits are fun, by the way, when you're under 20. After you're like 25, 30 years old, it's not fun anymore. It's like a hangover. You survive them just fine at 20. You hit 40 and that hangover lasts a whole week and it just sucks. So, but yeah, try to blend in, adjust your bag. And again, I'm constantly changing stuff depending on where I'm traveling, what my business purpose is. So if I'm all suits and ties, I'm going to throw extra jeans and a pair of boots in my truck that I can move with, or extra pair of sneakers. If the weather is going to get cold, obviously the jacket. You know, adjust as you go. But just be aware of this, and this is not so much a trial or the verdict thing. This is people are pissed about it, or they're supporting it, and they're getting riled up. And we're going to have that weird shit show that we had in 2020, especially as we get closer to 2022. It's going to get amplified. Okay. And the media does this because the more clicks they get money. All right. Money makes them happy. So, you know, whether we're all getting beaten to shit in the street, the media doesn't care because they're getting money. You know, that's our problem. So be cognizant of what's going on. And speaking of protests, so I was really psyched to see this. Because again, this is one of those things. I don't know if Getter had pointed it out. Hey, Klingon Princess, how are you? Yeah, it does. And especially if you get bad red wine, that gives you a hangover headache. You may as well have punched me in the back of the head. Like it's terrible. I can handle whiskey and you know, beer. You know, you just kind of like you don't feel good. But that freaking red wine, especially the bad ones, when you get cheap and you buy the really crappy one, that's oof. No, 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 don't need that. That's just bad on so many levels. Yeah, and wearing layers of clothes. Actually, big chap, I spend half my time in steel toes and a hard hat or a cowboy hat. You guys have probably never seen me in a video in a cowboy hat, but I do sometimes, and because I'm out in the sun. And yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I'm gonna take a video clip, and I just like drive somewhere, but I'm in a work shirt and a hard hat, and I've got a phone, and I'm taking pin. People drive by, and they're like, "Oh, he's surveying," and they keep going. Benefit of being an engineer, you have all sorts of stuff hanging out your truck, and they're like, "Oh, he's doing work. Nobody gives a shit." But yeah, that's actually a really good idea. You get a work shirt or a hard hat, and like a little work bag, and you could put all your stuff in there and walk around. And even protesters, you just scare them, right? The easiest way to clear a energy sector location is to say, "Hey, I got to bring a radiation detector in here because there may be radiation," and like all the workers are like, it's the best thing ever. So you can do the same. Oh, there may be a gas leak, and off they go. So, and hold on a second. So, but yeah, big chap, that's a really good idea, and that's something to think about because I have a hard hat in my truck anyway. So, but we're not only having protests here, and this is what's interesting because in Europe they're quite upset over other stuff. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that across Europe, protests swell because of pandemic restrictions. Um, Brussels protests against the Rona restrictions erupted across Europe. This was today, including clashes in Rotterdam and massive rallies in Vienna. And if you've never been to Vienna, the middle of the city has a big plaza. It's really beautiful. And that's a perfect place to like lock up the whole city. Oh, yeah. That's awful and funny at the same time because I had friends who used to do the exact same thing in where I grew up. But yeah, also reversible jackets. And to Rip's point, if you get caught and say someone grabs you in a protest and you slug them and run away and you're wearing a blue jacket and then you go to a corner and go and make it purple or some other color and put your hair in a hat or whatever, change your appearance real quick, and then you just look like you have no clue, people will come running in and be like, "No, that's not him," and keep running down the street. In theory, I don't know, it works on TV sometimes, I guess, but it would, yeah, well, that's true too. But yeah, if you have reversible, oh, that would have been fun to see. You should have taken a picture of that. And that's a good one too. Unless it's Halloween, then they don't take it seriously, but all the rest of the times of the year. But yeah, 7 people were injured, 50 arrested after protests turned violent late Friday, with protesters throwing stones and police firing shots. Oh, they shot back. That's not good. Demonstrators decried a proposed law that would ban unvaccinated people from entering businesses, even if they provide a negative test within whatever windows required. Yeah, folks are so there's a lot of instability. You got governments clamping down on folks because of the Rona. You have people arguing about restrictions. And so everyone's watching this gibberish. And in the meantime, Russia's massing troops on the Ukrainian border, and China's doing China's thing with Taiwan and India. So yeah, it's been and there's a really good picture. Let me see if I can. Oh, there's a video. And let me see if I can get it playing. Let me know if you got the audio on this, guys. Criminals are profiting off the American taxpayer. Well, that's wimpy. Nobody wants to see that. Hold on. Let's let that stupid commercial go by, and then we can. get back to that. So why do they 30,000 freaking commercials on the stupid videos? Bear with it a second. So anyway, bio bags. Hubby has. Here we go. So really don't have a very good audio with this anyway. Let me see if I can get it.
In Austria's capital, Vienna, on Saturday, a day after the country's government
Can you guys
announced
hear that?
strict new coronavirus restrictions, another lockdown, and compulsory vaccination next year. Noisy crowds, cheering, whistling, and banging drums streamed into Heroes Square in central Vienna. Many protesters waved flags and carried signs with
I don't know if
slogans
he knows
such
his
as
signs
"No
upside
to
down."
vaccination" and "Enough is enough." "I want my freedom back," says this woman. "One would think we live in a democracy, but now this is
Thank
a
you, guys.
coronavirus dictatorship." Roughly 66% of Austria's population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, one of the lowest rates in Western Europe. Daily infections are still setting records there, even after a lockdown was imposed on the unvaccinated this week. That led the government to announce on Friday that Austria would go back into lockdown on Monday. Vaccines will be compulsory as of February 1st.
We are against the lockdown and the Austrian government policies as far as the coronavirus goes. This has been going on for 2 years and there is no end in sight. Something new is announced every day and we don't know what we can believe anymore. That's the situation.
Many Austrians are skeptical about vaccines, a view encouraged by the far-right Freedom Party, the third biggest in parliament. The FPO had already been planning a show of force in Vienna on Saturday, when Friday's announcement fired up its base. Although party leader Herbert Kickl could not attend because he's caught COVID-19, thousands answered calls by the FPO and other vaccine-critical groups to protest across the city. Most protesters who spoke to the media, including the ones in this report, declined to give their names, though the mood was festive.
So they seem to be pretty well behaved over there. It's a very formal little protest. Actually, that was a big protest. I've been in that plaza on a business trip there. One of the local engineers brought me to that so I could take some pictures. You have no idea the scope, like that concave looking building. That entire plaza, you could probably fit like Energy Stadium where the Texans play or where the Cowboys play, the Dallas Stadium, into that plaza. Like, it's just massive. So there had to have been thousands of people there and just doing their thing. So but yeah, it's well, and the problem is they haven't marched at all in some of the European countries, but now they're pissed off and they're like, no, this is too much. This is stupid. And I love this one because I think the Australians of all the countries seem to be getting the worst of this Rona, right? Because at least there we go. At least the you know, places like Texas, Oklahoma, in the States, if people don't agree with what the feds are doing, they're going to the state may sue or the local may refuse to comply. But in Australia, it's just like every level of government decided we're going to all be dictators at one time. I do like Tammy and Texas Mama. I do like the biohazard idea. That's pretty cool. Or radiation. Oh, I got radiation signs somewhere. Like legit radiation signs from work that have been decommissioned. I bet I can. I probably want to make sure they're not radioactive before I bring them home, though, huh? But yeah, that'd be great. Just radiation leak. You know, the flux capacitor is leaking. Don't come to this house. But yeah, if you make your house ugly, I mean, that's you gray man's your house. I mean, think about it. But yeah, Australia's vaccine program remains voluntary and highly successful. So they claim, but protesters rallied Saturday across several of Australia's major cities with mandates. So this is stupid because they have 85% of the population has received meds, but now they're wanting to lock down anyway. That's contradictory. It makes no sense. Hey, Monique. No, not at all. I'm glad you made it. And yeah, it is just noise, the protests. Unless you start causing money, and I really think the money is always going to be the pain point for these leaders, right? You lock up a city and cause 10 million in financial loss because people, I don't know, they can't get to work or whatever, and that's going to start getting people's attention very quickly, right? Because sponsors pay these stupid politicians, like they write them checks for their campaigns. The sponsors start losing $8 million or 20 million or whatever. They're going to be like, dude, I donated to your campaign and you're kind of screwing me, so what are we going to do to fix this? So that's a great way. If you're going to protest, yeah, and Joe spot on. Oh shit, yeah, they need to lose things too. Money, reputation, stuff like that. It hurts a company. It hurts. And now, granted, there's some people who, yes, I did. I actually just had the video up, Monique, and yeah. So Austria and Australia. That's a tongue twister there, I guess. But yeah, the police said 10,000 gathered in Sydney, where one protester dressed like a Scottish freedom fighter, William Wallace from the film Braveheart, spoke to the crowd in costume. And then, another spoke to the crowd in costume as former President Donald Trump. Oh yeah, and I think you're going to see more of that because nobody really likes what they've been seeing. It's not cool. In Australia, we have fanatical cults run our health bureaucracies. There, 2,000 protested in Melbourne. So, okay, why do they say this is? They say this is Australia. It has a Trump flag, though. Although I could see an Australian getting pissed and bringing a Trump flag out just to agitate the politicians. And then someone's putting here, clean up the swamp of child abuse. So, but yeah, they're out. They're protesting. Hey, Lucky. No, and you're absolutely right. Survival lilies in Austria. Yeah, and hey, Lucky, by the way. Yeah, I like how these countries are pointing out the protesters supposedly far right wing. This has nothing to do with it. They're people on both sides of the fence or tired, because they want to go about their business. And med, no med. The bottom line is things have to move on, and they just keep coming up with new things, and it's frustrating. People are getting pissed off. They're yeah, it's interesting watching how this plays out. But what's funny is you don't hear about that very much in the States. You're hearing about it on YouTube. You're hearing about it in social media platforms of various types, but you're not hearing about it on the TV at all. Every now and then, one channel may be like, "Oh, protests in Australia," and then it's gone. But I actually saw a video from someone I follow on Twitter. And Twitter to me is just a big news feed of gibberish, right? It's just all this crap, and then I kind of pick out important things. And there's a person down in Australia, and she and her husband went to they're building a double fenced camp for the unmedicated, and basically putting these folks in there, which is kind of crazy. So, but it's weird how we don't hear about it, right? It's almost like they don't want to put this out there because at the end of the day, it's going to encourage people in other countries to do the same, and that's not what they want. They want all the little flock to obey, not to go and be rambunctious. So, speaking of rambunctiousness, so, yeah, the alpha, beta, the gamma, delta, epsilon, freaking whatever the hell else is out there. Take me to summer camp. I like that. Summer camp is a very good analogy. So, yeah, and it's like we're on blackout for a lot of things. They just don't really. And again, if it wouldn't be in your best interest for your populace to hear that, so-and-so or throwing rocks at the cops, and then your people will do it too. Unfortunately, I think the internet is such that there's constantly a stream of info going somewhere, and it's really hard to clamp it down. Hey, NC girl, I missed you earlier. Sorry about that. I got another one which I thought was interesting. So I know a few people have touched on this already. Oh, the stupid advertisement. Hold on. So I don't know if it was Lucky or I know Angry definitely talked about it. CDC says smallpox vials found in lab did not contain the disease-causing virus. So here's your Omega variant. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the CDC's indicated that the vials contain vaccinia, which is the virus used in the smallpox vaccine. So it's kind of like the inert virus. After an investigation into vials labeled smallpox found at a lab in Pennsylvania, the CDC and Prevention said late Thursday it had found no evidence the vials contained the variola virus itself, the cause of the disease. The fact that they have the base virus for the vaccine is concerning, though. One, why was it marked like that? And two, why are they not securing that shit? And again, we can go down the yeah, and Lucky, you're right. That and they're it should be about trading the info and then kind of letting if people happen to do well doing that, hey, more power to you. But I have seen, to what Joe said earlier, you do see some where you're watching it and going, I don't need to see a commercial. That, yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely. Looks like I'm getting my new puppy in January. Oh yeah. Well, Lucky, I spoke to my daughter's boyfriend, the doctor, and jokingly said, so in light of our response to the 1-9, what if the other one hit the world? And he looked at me absolute deadpan and said, that would be a fucking mess. And I mean, he said it so flat, and I was like, I believe it. So yeah. And somebody has puppies. Wait, who has puppies? I missed something here. Oh, there we go. So wait, are they your puppies? Or hey, I missed someone in here. It's sure. Hey, howdy. And sorry guys, I think I missed a few folks who joined while I was looking at multiple screens. So Sandwich and Seagirl, Brad. Hello, Brad. I think I got everyone. If I didn't say hi to you, sorry. In any case, so apparently false alarm, not actually the super Rona, whatever the hell that is. Super Rona, it's a super cootie. That would be hellaciously bad. And what's funny, it doesn't exist in nature anymore. Not the one that affects humans. So if it shows up, somebody either screwed up royally or they let it loose. Texas healers. Oh, a giant schnauzer. I didn't know they came in that size. I didn't know they had sizes. You know, schnauzers, just here's your dog, you know, a giant schnauzer. I'm so curious now. I'm going to have to look that up later. Yeah, no. Yeah, if the smallpox got out, that would be a luck. That would be a lucky. That would be an unlucky day for everybody. No, and the monkeypox actually spreads very similarly to Ebola. It's large droplets, body fluids, and very close proximity. They were trying to rile up it. I mean, you don't want it because it would suck, but it's not like the other one. The measles are another one that's really horrendous. But the measles, for the most part, is a very stable virus. In other words, it doesn't mutate very often at all. But yeah, it has been a weird week. I mean, I got to tell you guys, and for those of you who kind of came later when I started off this broadcast, I told everyone I really don't know where I'm going with this today because there's so much shit going on at once. So it's going to kind of be a shotgun kind of overview of the universe kind of thing today. But healers are good. They had them at the gun show too. They had healers at the gun show in the back, and I was like, look at the fluffy puppy, but I have, you know, the 3 psychos already. So I'm going to add a 4th psychotic to the other 3. And then I'll have 4 herding dogs in one house. That would be so bad. Maybe when I get, yeah, no, monkeypox is ugly, but not deadly. I mean, it could kill you, but that's not, well, what's interesting, Joe, and I think I have that article up here. That shot, a lot of people said, why did the FDA approve a shot for smallpox or when we already have that vaccine and it's established and proven? And apparently it was for weaponized smallpox, but that makes no sense because, like, wouldn't if you weaponize a virus, you have to do certain specific things to it, but there's a myriad of things you could do to a virus to make it behave differently. So how do you know that specific pill will work with all these versions? Yeah. No, my corgi disapproves. The older corgi will get on the couch if I'm watching TV, put her nose right in my eye and go, and just do this like grunt like an angry pig. And she'll just keep doing it. She won't leave. She'll just sit there like, I am staring into your soul. So, but in any case, so anyone from Canada, I think Monique's up there. There are a few of you guys up there. This has been an interesting, hold on a second here. So Canada looked like Houston after Harvey. That was basically just a massive, massive set of rainstorms. Absolutely tore up that part of the country. Searchers located 3 bodies swept away by landslides in British Columbia, leading to food and fuel shortages in the province because that's like a main. Dr. Faucio. I like that. Joe's on a tear today. Hey, Mom Survival, how are you? Okay, so I'm not the only one who heard it. It was a weaponized smallpox vaccine, not like Oh, we came out with a new version of the same shit we had 110 years ago. It's new. Yeah. So vaccine, Vancouver. It's been one of those weeks. Canada's westernmost province declared a state of emergency after a phenomenon known as atmospheric river, basically buttload of rain, brought a month's worth of rain in 2 days, washed out roads and railways, cutting off Vancouver from the mainland. And then 3 more bodies were found, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Storms, which started last Sunday, forced the closure of the Trans Mountain Pipeline and cut 2 critical east-west railways owned by Canadian Pacific. CP said work on the repair of the damaged infrastructure will continue nonstop, and service should be restored by the middle of the week. 14,000 people remain under evacuation orders. And see, folks, this is one of those cases where you may have to leave your home. Is a flood, a massive fire, something like that. Someone pops a nuke, God forbid. This kind of stuff will, really force you to start moving there. So I'm hearing Gates speak on that just a minute. Brad is either purely evil or one of the most forescient human beings I've ever met. I'm kind of siding with you on this one, but that's just me. And yeah, he's, well, you know what? People get that powerful. And yeah. And, if you look at the history of this dude, he was not always a straight shooter at all. He got where he is for a reason. But yeah, so this has been real. Actually, while we're talking about it, let's look, and this I wasn't planning to bring up, but since we were talking about it, oh wow. That was not the website I was expecting would have that article. Hey, I'm going to share this with you guys because this is just interesting. So I'm just going to, there's no audio here, gang. Okay, that's WebMD. Yeah, FDA approves new drug against weaponized smallpox. Pox. They approved a new drug to treat smallpox. BARDA, the biomedical. Okay, so the FDA has approved a new drug to treat smallpox. Fearful of a possible bioweapon attack, the United States has been steadily preparing. Have they now? A defense through BARDA, Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Tecovirimat was the first drug for smallpox approved in 2018. The FDA granted a new drug, BCV, I like that better, fast track status and orphan drug designations in 2018. Drug testing usually goes through several phases prior to approval. There's preclinical. Okay, so this is interesting. So there's preclinical testing in tubes and animals. Phase 1 is first in human testing for safety and toxicity. Phase 2 is where researchers look for the best dose for specific conditions. And phase 3 broadens the population that receives the drug. And then phase 4 or post-marketing studies are done to continue to monitor long-term side effects. So, yeah, no, it is ungodly. Yeah, and that's what because I heard that they had a new smallpox drugs and I didn't really pay attention to it. And then I saw an article that said it was weaponized. And that really freaked me out because I'm like, well, how would they know what version of the weaponized smallpox you need? I mean, we can't even control the 19 right now, and it's the same damn virus just keeps changing on its own and doing things. But what's funny is they have all these phases. I mean, they're literally on this. I'm going to see if I can throw this in the chat for you guys. In case you guys want to read more on that. Drug testing usually goes through several phases. So this was approved in 2018, and it's gone through all those phases. We're now in 2021, and now it's approved, a few months ago. So how can they say this is testing, but what they're mandating right now, we should just take? How did they fit all this testing into that quickly? Wait, which was found in the Merck lab? The vax for the pox, or you're talking about the stupid little vials that everyone got freaked out about? Marburg virus. Yeah, this is just bizarre. Smallpox is a deadly disease. Natural smallpox was eliminated in 1979. Both the United States and Russia have maintained stocks, and perhaps other countries. Okay, that's a new caveat too, because I'm not liking that. So the BCV received priority review, fast track, and orphan drug designations. The first two mean the FDA believes the drug is likely to provide a significant advantage over current therapy. An orphan drug designation is intended to support the development of drugs for rare diseases, but it has been abused by a number of pharmaceutical companies because the status is lucrative. BCV is neither new or an unknown drug. It's a version of a drug used to treat AIDS patients. Y'all, I'm going to have to dig into this more. This was kind of a sidetrack when y'all were having this conversation. Well, yeah, Flower Child, that's what we were just talking about. Welcome, by the way. Is how, like, it's been gone. And they very specifically in this article, and this is WebMD, so, I'm assuming they're not going to post something and just make something up. They'll let someone else make something up, like the FDA, and then they'll post it. But I'm probably going to get a penalty box for that one. But it's that's just weird, because they very specifically state it's a new drug against a weaponized smallpox. Or did someone get their hand on smallpox and none of the governments want to say anything because they don't know what's going to happen? Oh, and the chat just flew by on me. That's another possible source of fun. That's, yeah, because you screw up your immune system and then you're a forever patient. It's just something to think about, y'all. Yeah, I'm not super cool with that. That's a bit disturbing. I need to talk to some people about that one. I'm not a fan of what I just read. That was creepy. Gain of function, anyone? Or loss of function for all of us, because we'll all be dysfunctional if they give us that crap. So, as if we didn't have enough to worry about, market is one more bad inflation report from a serious pullback. I don't know if I have audio on this. Watch now. Let me know if I have audio, guys, because I can't tell. And we have this oaf commercial. Can you guys hear? No? Okay. Hold on, gang. Let me try that again. I did something wrong here. I had a browser update and then it did nifty things, so I'm going to have to fix that later. Let's try Chrome. Let's try this thing. Okay. This one should have audio. So no noise making. Is that like loud noises from the Anchorman? Loud noises. What they found in the lab apparently was the inert virus they used to create the smallpox vaccine. But now the concern is, well, why was that there in the first place when only certain labs are supposed to have that? Anything related to smallpox, because it's highly controlled, supposedly by the US and the Russians, but they don't know if someone else got their hand on it somewhere along the way. So, all right, let's try again. Let me know if I got audio. Let's see. Go.
Wall Street gets ready for a shortened holiday week. Jeremy Siegel, finance professor at the Wharton School of Business. Always great to see you, Professor. First, your major market thesis on where the market is headed right now, especially as we're watching COVID cases rise in different parts of the world.
Yes, we are, and certainly that has stopped the so-called reopening trade. But I believe that is going to be temporary. We obviously do need boosters. Israel got its second wave under control by giving boosters, and I do think that will control it. So I think the major problems for the economy today are the Federal Reserve and inflation, and the Fed being way behind the curve, in my opinion, in terms of taking anti-inflationary actions.
What is your latest view on inflation? And do you think the market is turning here on inflation concerns? Is that part of the narrative today?
Well, I think today's narrative is the Delta surge, the lockdown in Austria, and maybe potentially elsewhere in the world and in Europe. I think generally, since the Fed has not made any aggressive move at all, the money is still flowing into the market. The Fed is still doing quantitative easing. I don't think the market is going to stumble until perhaps that December 15th meeting. We get one more bad inflation report like we did for the month of October, which is coming up, I believe, on December 10th for November. And I think that the Powell will have to accelerate the tapering at that particular juncture. And there's where I think you're going to see more volatility in the equity market.
So you're expecting more volatility as to what the Fed says that could spark more volatility. How much of a move lower could we see? Your thoughts on the risk around a correction?
Well, I think that I do think a correction will come. The question is, how high can stocks get before then? Because knowing that a correction to the future doesn't tell you to get out now. I still am pretty fully invested because there is no alternative. The so-called TINA statement is still there. Bonds are getting, in my opinion, worse and worse. Cash is disappearing at the rate of inflation, which is over 6%, and I think going higher. So even with a little bit of bumpiness in stocks, you have to be wanting to hold real assets in this scenario. And stocks are real assets. They are claims on real capital and real land, equipment, copyrights, intellectual property, all that, which in the long run is going to maintain value. But in the short run, if the Fed suddenly gets tougher, I'm not sure that the market is going to be ready for a U-turn that Jerome Powell may take if we have one more bad inflation report.
So then which groups do you like best in this environment where the Fed is expected to get more active and we're now expecting a bit more volatility?
Well, and again, because I do think that we're going to quell this Delta upsurge, value has gotten very cheap. We had almost an 18% move from growth to value from a year ago, September until March, and we've lost it all. Recently, the growth has resurged, and of course the resurgence with the Delta variant has now grown more. I think people are going to be looking for dividend yields. I think interest rates are heading higher, so I think financials, have been selling off recently with the lower interest rates. I think that they could come back. I still think the conservative tech stocks, and I don't mean those selling 300 times revenues or in the EV space, but those that are selling for 20, 25, 30, 35 times solid earners are still going to do well. But I do think that people looking for yield and inflation protected yield, which is what stocks can deliver and bonds cannot, is going to be a major theme for 2022.
So that's just to clarify, Professor Siegel, those are value-oriented sectors like utilities and consumer staples?
Well, I would say anything, again, and some of it's anything that...
You guys catch that? So utilities, consumer staples like food are going to be the stronger point going into next year, if I'm hearing it correctly.
Reasonable price earnings ratios, not up in the 60 to 100 to higher, and those that have good dividend yields. Some of them are, it's not particularly just industries. You have to look at the individual stocks, but people, I think, are going to be looking for inflation protected yields.
So when the investors are starting to look at those more defensive investments, right? The gold, the silver, moving to T-bonds, stuff like that. They start moving things back and forth. It kind of is predictive of what you're going to see. So a lot of them, they're moving to more protected positions. These investors like this professor, because they're expecting inflation to go up. And yeah, so, and he's pointing that out. He's saying a lot of the smarter investors, they're backing off. So it makes you wonder, did Elon, right? Or was it Elon who sold like X amount of his stock? He may be of the thought of, you know what? I'm going to position myself personally in a cash position. I'm going to divest my stock so I don't lose my butt there. I'm going to hold my cash, let the stock go back into the open market. And also, if the company buys back stock, each share will be worth more that's remaining out there. So, yeah, he did a stock dump. That's what I'm saying. I've heard about that, Brad. Yeah. But no, don't worry. Texas Mom, and it's all good. But again, keep in mind the and Lucky can find the, or Loretta can find the comment. I can't see it in this screen. But yeah, they're looking at protected situations. So again, this indicates a few things. The people who study this shit, way more knowledgeable than I'll ever be, they are expecting more inflation before it gets better, right? And I've seen, and this is not just like a Fox News business, I've seen it on NBC, I've seen it on Bloomberg, all the investment groups, except CNN, who does, I don't know what the hell their story is, they're stoned, but actually, if they were stoned, they'd be more amusing. All the other channels that I kind of, they're all looking the same way. They're all saying, we're going to see more inflationary pain until everything kind of settles in or it adjusts. And that would suck because it could do a big shift. And then we find ourselves in like this new financial situation globally. So these guys, I've been listening to a lot of them, and you're hearing a lot of this same talk of hedge yourself against inflation. Again, having cash never hurts. Is it world collapsing type of stuff? I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong. Godzilla could show up offshore Jersey tomorrow. And, Heroic could be pissed with me for saying that because they're going to tear up his area. But I don't think there's a kaiju headed for Jersey, by the way. But a lot of these investors, these people who that's all they do is watch the movement of the market. They're all going into a bit more protective, a little more cash. And you heard him say earlier, cash is disappearing. What they're doing, they're not investing the money as much. They're kind of sitting on it a little bit, or they're moving it into something that will maintain value in an inflationary environment, like a commodity, or not a commodity, precious metals, stuff like that. So, yeah. And Brad, please, yeah, definitely do. If we get into a really riled up video, not necessarily today, but in the future, and we start getting dings, definitely let me know. Yeah. Well, what they do, Joe, they move their money from pot A to pot B, depending, like it's a whole process they follow. Oh, there's civil unrest, move your money here, and then it keeps its value. So anyway, I just thought this was interesting because this guy is still expecting inflation. He's still stating that the consumer price indexes are going to be high. So we're going to see that price hit us during the holidays. And it's something we're going to have to battle, but it's important for us to, again, we can't affect inflation, right? None of us, I mean, unless one of you is like a super secret investment ninja, none of us on the chat or in the video, we can't change that. But what you can do is adjust your situation as best you can to take the hit, kind of like rolling with the punches. This one's from NPR, and again, I'm kind of taking from different sources because, truthfully, there's no audio on this one, guys. Inflation is at 30-year highs. Here's how it has hurt past presidents. And then I have some protesters in 1974. Consider the headline or TV screen crawl you've seen a lot since the October Consumer Price Index hit the news. Inflation hits 30-year high, Democrats doomed. Year over year, things cost 6.2% more this October than last, especially energy. Now, I've seen it. Remember, the average consumer price index. That doesn't necessarily mean specific products. So a specific product can have gone up double or triple. And, that would be within this situation. Yeah. I should have done that. I actually I'd invested in different energy and logistics stocks because I'm like, being able to transport is going to be important. People all at home, those things will have value. And I had to wait a bit, but a lot of those spun up as well. Economists may know or even agree that the current inflation is attributable to the pandemic and its aftermath, sluggish supply chains, reluctant workers, etc. Then they also state, we know the government has mainlined trillions of dollars in buying power to consumers. So basically, the GDP goes down, you throw a bunch of currency in there, and the value of that currency is a function of the velocity of money and the GDP. And if the GDP is caca and the velocity is not very good either, the money isn't worth anything. That's just pretty much it. So yeah, people are saying, so it's a flashback to the 70s. And that's a terrible picture of Nixon. He looks like a crackhead. Anyway, I'm going to make that a meme and send it to my brother just because it would crack him up. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by the bug-eyed Richard Nixon. Flashback to the 70s when people still use that word. Decade began with Richard Nixon in the White House juggling the Vietnam War. Nixon was increasingly anxious about something else, the inflation driven by government spending on the Vietnam War and social programs of the 60s. Nixon knew the three biggest inflation spikes of the 20th century had followed the two world wars and the war in Korea in the early 50s. Now that's interesting because some of us have Oh, you didn't see the Nixon, or you want to see the meme? Oh, I got to make a meme out of that because I mean, look, that's. Let me see if I can expand it because that's awesome. I can't expand tricky dick over here. That's actually what some people call them. That I wasn't trying to be obnoxious. And then here you have the long lines at the gas stations in '73. I remember my parents talking about that. Arco, by the way, Arco gas, I don't think exists anymore. Yeah, and that's good, Loretta. You definitely need to. And this article, and I'll share it with you guys. It basically goes down the okay. When I make the meme, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'll put it on Discord, or I'll put it on one of my shorts or posts. So anyway, it kind of goes through how the various presidents dealt with it. Now, notice what they said up here is Nixon had noticed that the three biggest inflation spikes followed the 2 world wars in Korea. We just ended a war, and we had a Rona, so we kind of double whammied, and bam. I can't say that's for sure why, but we might have had inflation anyway, pulling out of that, ending the war. So some people have alluded to the best way to solve inflation is to start something. And that's kind of what they're saying right here, but they're saying it in reverse. So make it extra spicy. The meme is too easy. I need to get one with like a couple of different presidents. And yeah, I don't know. That was a pretty bad. Like, this is all noble, right? Like, look at him. Hi, I'm Gerald Ford. And this guy looks like somebody farted by the microphone. I don't even know what to say to that picture. I don't even know who that guy is. But anyway, this is one of those breakdowns of how the inflationary effect between wars and oil embargoes, how it affected the different presidents. So, I mean, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen in 2022, but it's at a 30-year high. Everyone agrees with it. And yeah, and Monique, that's what concerns me is when countries start getting desperate. China's telling people to stockpile food. They're doing other stuff. They're posturing. There's a lot of puffery. They're trying to distract their populace from what's going on at their table with stupidity somewhere else. Someone's going to miscalculate. Whether it's deliberately, well, that wouldn't be a miscalculation. They deliberately do something, but more than likely it would be a miscalculation, and I could just see something going down the toilet. And here's a good example of how that inflationary and those kinds of decisions, because I know Russia's getting a shellacking too. It's let me see if I can. Yeah, so U.S. officials warn of possible Russian military incursion into the Ukraine. Now, this has been an ongoing topic for about 2 years now, since they took Crimea, 3 years. But an incursion is weather dependent, but could happen in a matter of weeks. We all know the Russians are the masters of winter warfare. Napoleon and the Nazis found that out. Tens of thousands of Russian troops have massed on the Ukrainian border months after thousands of troops assembled on the border in the spring. But unlike last spring's buildup, which was regarded as more of a show of force, U.S. intelligence are warning that this one could be in preparation for an actual incursion. A tactic often used, especially by large countries, is they do military drills and they normalize their behavior with the other country that they're doing the drill by, right? So they know, okay, every winter these idiots put planes in the air, they put a gunboat and run up and down the river. As they're going through what appears to be normal, that's a perfect time for them to pounce on someone. do something unexpectedly, and all of a sudden those planes that normally would fly to the edge of your airspace and go away are now going supersonic at the edge of your airspace and headed for your radars. And again, you have the Russians shooting things out of space, which was amazingly stupid on their part. But yeah, because well, actually, it got a little bit worse last year. But again, it was something to talk about. You're not handling, the president's not handling, or this person's not handling their business right. Flower Child, if you want to tag Brad, you do at. It's kind of like at. I can't see it on my screen, but if I do this, now you should, Flower Child, you should see your own name show up, and it should be highlighted if I spelled it right. So if you wanted to tag, say, Joe Morgan, you put at Joe Morgan, and you got to spell it exactly as it looks. So like when people have long names, like Sita has several words behind her initials, then you can either do a drop down or there you go. Awesome. And Loretta's supper's done. So, well, guys, look, there's a lot of moving parts as always, but these analysts, I keep looking at them every week, and they keep saying the same thing. We're going to continue to see that inflation at least through the holidays, possibly into Q2, Q3. How bad it gets, anybody, it's anybody's guess, but a lot of things going on. The smallpox bottles were not what they thought they were, but the fact that we're even talking about the damn smallpox 30 years after it was supposedly eradicated is not cool. What that's going to mean for us, God only knows. But yeah. Yeah, I think a few people are chicken and dumplings. That sounds good. That sounds like an excellent idea. So, but folks, I mean, lots of moving parts. We're still going to see the inflation and expect civil unrest. I don't think we've seen the last of the protesting. It may be a little more low key because we are getting into Thanksgiving week, which may have been benevolent timing on the part of the court that the court case ended before Thanksgiving. But after that, between the holidays, it's anybody's guess. If you're on the road, folks, make sure you pack and try to take into account the possibility of things going sideways while you're visiting somewhere strange. So make sure you have what you need to at least get back home. Once you're home, you can kind of make decisions from there. But yeah, that inflationary effect isn't going away. We all know the supply chain, depending on where you are, is either crap or it's okay, or you can't find gummy bears or whatever. But yeah, as far as stocking up, folks, stock what you can that's within your budget. I think that's the most important thing. Don't not pay your house payment or do something financially you wouldn't do because you're trying to stock up. Do it within your budget. I know, like, my kids who are now young adults will do like they call it the oh shit budget, and like every paycheck it's $20, and that's their 20, and they go to the store with their 20, and what they get with the 20 is what they get, and that goes in the closet, and that's it. But you do 20 every couple of weeks, and you look for those little sales. And yes, yeah, I saw one YouTube channel said max out your credit cards now because it's all going to collapse, and I stopped watching that channel. I just stopped. I every now and then I'll peek in on it, but I stopped. I'm like, no, you're telling people to make bad decisions on a hypothesis. because yeah, if it all goes to crap, yeah, who's going to come collect your credit card bill, right? But until that point, folks are on the hook, and you don't want to make your situation worse, because then you can create an SHTF for yourself by doing bad things. Yeah, no, Metal, when I saw that, and I thought it was just a flippant comment, not a flippant comment. It was a flippant comment, but it was actually in the title. Like the thumbnail was, disaster coming, max out your credit cards. And I'm like, that, and that I totally, yeah, lucky, absolutely. When I read that, I was like, really, guy? You're just freaking people out. And that's the kind of stuff that gives the preparedness community a bad name. Oh, you're a tinfoil hat, you're a fear monger. I mean, we were all talking about this, some of us on Discord groups. And it's like, no, inflation happens. Have food. Eat next week on last month's prices, right? I mean, that logical sense. Save money, couponing. It's all old school stuff. Canning. Yeah, it's no, and you know what? As far as like 401s and investments, and I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own homework. But if you have a stock that's done really well, and the dividends, like it's not paying you a lot of dividends, and it's already a long-term stock, so you don't get hit with that big tax, you get the capital gains tax, which is way less, and you want to have some cash going into the end of the year, okay. Keep in mind, though, anything you pull out, you sell that stock in 2020, you're going to have to pay tax on it in 2021, right? So there's always that little hook. But I mean, make those smart decisions, right? Maximize, if you're making a big financial decision and you can't say where you feel comfortable, I'm going to come out ahead, or I'm going to get a result that I'm happy with, you may want to reconsider it. Yeah, that's not preparing. I saw Lucky's comment. It's not preparedness. It's panic. And yeah, and I got to tell you, it wasn't one of the channels all of us watch, like Angry or Magic or something like that. It was another channel. And the guy, I don't know, when I saw the title, I'm like, surely that's not what he wants to say. I thought maybe there was like double wordplay. And then I listened about 5-10 minutes in. I'm like, oh, no, I just, nope. No, and again, to Lucky's point, there's no there's no reason to do that, because remember, you're going to have other commitments. Okay, so don't put yourself in a bad. And oh, you found the video? Yeah, if you find it, it's kind of shocking. And tell me if I'm wrong, because I got about a third of the way in. I'm like, I can't hear this. This is silly. If I was wrong, then I'll retract what I've said. Then maybe the guy was kind of using some wordplay, and that's not really what he meant. But it seemed pretty obvious to me. And yeah, it's frustrating too. I mean, yeah, and all we can do, look, and Lucky and Joe were right on. In my mind, okay, the more people who are ready, even if it's for 72 hours where you're not in a complete shit panic, right? Like my daughter had witnessed other people got into in Houston during the freeze. You just have enough to stop, right? Everyone come home. I don't know whether it's Rona version 7.8 or, something real serious like, there's terrorists running around. I'm glad, Flower Child. I don't want to cause people heart attacks. And actually, again, I think Lucky feels the same way. Tennessee Tactile. There are a lot of folks, and we get riled up. Don't get us wrong. Joe has a lot of good practical advice. There are a lot of folks, militant. It's very easy to get riled up about subjects when you see a politician do dumb things, and then we get potty mouth on our videos. But just my career, my job as an engineer, there is a problem. I try to use science and rational thought and fix, right? And whether it's a logistical issue or an actual technical issue. And that's how I'm trying to approach it. Yeah, and Lucky's usually really good, and every now and then something will spark her. The milkmaid, I think somebody said she went on a good rant the other day. Like, one of us will get riled up, and then the fuckity fuck comes out, we just lose our biscuits on a video. But in any case, yeah, it should be, folks should be trying to help each other. And I want to end videos at least, hey, look, this is what's going on. We can't affect inflation. I can't. If I like or don't like the president, I can't affect that either. I make a vote. I hope it counts for something, and they win or loses. And you haven't heard that we lose our biscuits. But if you can take that time to stop and just, here's what's happening. Don't freak out about it. What are our action plans? You get caught in a riot. Did you get the bug out bag we recommended? Do you have that change of clothes? Go from businessman or businesswoman to frumpy hoodie person who looks like they came out of a trash can. Nobody's going to mess with you. They're like, you know, you want to be the person because nobody's going to go near you. They'll be like, oof, you know, whatever. Now, if you happen to suddenly point a Glock at someone that got aggressive, hey, more power to you. But you don't want to. That's why I like Discord so much. Right, and that's the thing. And Ghetto, you're absolutely right. If they are, if they're putting that many troops after they just did this symbolic exercise a few months ago, then that was a dry run. Are they going to try and carve off that eastern part of the Ukraine to make like a baby Belarus to buffer them from the rest of the Ukraine? I don't know. I don't know. They've been fighting in that part of the world for 1,000 years. But yeah, you need to, you know, try to have a solution set, or else you're just freaking people out, and it doesn't help anyone. Hey, hey, awkward Texan, how are you? But yeah, folks, you know, just again, you have these situations. There's nothing we can really do about the inflation. You can't do anything about a president or a protest, but it's important to know they're out there so that you can adjust your approach to everything by taking that into account, right? You know, there's inflation. Don't run up your credit cards like we were saying in the chat. That's not smart. Maybe go to buying a little less or buy with cash only and save the credit cards for, God forbid, someone goes to the hospital and you have a big copay. And yeah, we can't affect, like, oh, it just went past. Militant points out, you know, China and the US don't like each other right now. We can't affect that. But if it screws up trade, again, save food, stock food, and adjust accordingly. So in any case, guys, look, that's all I got for today. That covered a lot more different subjects than I was originally planning, but I thought it was important for everyone to think about. You can't change this stuff. All you can do is approach your preparedness or change your approach to preparedness accordingly to try and buffer stuff like that. Do some reading, take some time. I think one of the things we sometimes don't do as people, as citizens, is just stop for a minute and do a little digging and say, okay, what exactly is going on? So, gang, have a great evening, Tammy and Brad and everyone else. Thank you, Lucky, for your modding, and Loretta. I'm losing track of the chat right now. But guys, I'm going to roll this up right now. Y'all stay safe. Godspeed. If you're going to be on the road, I will probably do a very short live on Tuesday, and I got it pre-recorded for Thursday because I will be with family. I hope all of you will be with family. If not, just chilling out at home, happily enjoying the solitude and the quiet. Until next time, God bless, take care, and be safe out there, and help each other out if you can. All right, reach out to each other. The more preppers are, the less zombies there'll be. You know what I mean? So you guys take care, and I will see you all next week for a little bit. Take care, and have a nice Thanksgiving if I don't see you in the chat.